This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 27.
I really like having being almost the casino, giving out those dream trades. You're selling way out of the money strikes and just creating dreams for people that won't ever come, most likely won't come true.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host. He was taught how to properly eat crab in person by a fellow member of the community, Clay Trader.
So at the time of this recording, it's been a few weeks, but we had the first ever claytrader.com meet and greet. And this was in Baltimore, and the reason it was there was Nate Wilson from episode 7, I believe, of the podcast. He is a sports investment banker, and he got us some tickets out there. So long story short, went out there, met up with, I believe, 8 or 9 people from the community. So it was really cool to, just hang out with people instead of looking at, a screen name in the chat room or something like that. So it was real fun, and we stayed with Nate for the night, and he took us the next day to eat some Maryland crabs, and I have no idea. I mean, this is just one of those things where they pour the crabs on your table, and if I wasn't there with him, I'd have no idea what we were doing. I mean, it was myself, Ches, and IT Nate, who we interviewed Nate in episode 3, Ches in episode 1, but we were all there, and nobody had any idea what we were doing. But Nate Wilson helped us out. He showed us the ropes, and it was just a cool little experience to kind of sit back with a member from the community who up until that point had just been a screen name. And now I know how to declaw or deshell a crab and eat it. And Ches, you are allergic to shellfish, so you weren't able to participate. But that was a pretty cool experience, wasn't it?
It was cool. I had a great time taking photos of you. And then I think I remember I touched the crab shell, and you guys were like, "Oh my God, are you going to swell up and die? We'll just throw you in the water if we got to ditch you." Yeah, that was fun.
We were all just looking for some cement shoes for you because, we had better things to do. We weren't going to take you to the hospital or anything. We were just going to throw you because, this place was nice. It was right out on the, we had this debate. I guess that wasn't the ocean, right? What was that called?
It connected to the ocean, but it was like a bay or something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, but so anyways, we were just going to throw you in the water. But that's true. I forgot about that. You did touch the shell, and we thought you were literally going to start to – we were all debating who's going to have to give you CPR, who's going to have to give you mouth-to-mouth. So that was
And there was
debate.
a line of people who just wanted to say, we'll give him mouth-to-mouth.
Yeah,
that's a story for another podcast.
Yeah, that is. We got to actually stay on topic here. But, yeah, so anyways, it was a very cool experience. And, from when I first started this 2 years ago, did I ever think that I'd be eating crabs with a member in Baltimore? No, I would have laughed at you, but it actually happened. So it was very, very cool. Well, welcome to the show. You already met our esteemed co-host, Ches. And yes, he is allergic to shellfish. So there's a fun little tidbit about him. So if you ever meet up with him, avoid seafood places that have just, shells or whatever. But today we are interviewing Chris, and he goes by the name Go Cubs Go, but we just all call him Cubs in the chat room. If you've been around a while, you have definitely seen Cubs, and we're talking with him. He's got a pretty big journey. He's a younger guy. He's 24 right now. He was around 22 when he got involved, so I like to know that we're getting this gamut of age ranges. But still, even despite being a quote-unquote younger guy, he's still got a good little journey, and we haven't had many people that are really into options, but him and Ches get along very well, as you'll see in this interview, because they have a lot they can relate to. But let's just hop in and learn about Cubs' journey. All right, well, we are here with Cubs from the chat room. His name is Chris, but I just got his approval. I can call him Cubs as we go through the interview. So what is going on, Cubs?
Hey, not too much. Just happy to be home from work. Thanks for taking the time to sit down with me today.
Yeah, he's in Chicago, so we wanted to get this started a little bit earlier, but he had some train delays. But I don't know, Ches. I don't know, Ches. Why don't you let our viewers know what the true scoop is here?
So Chicago has the most reliable public transit system in the world. It is never late. It's always on time, and it's always extremely clean. You could eat off the floor. Don't ever do that. Do not ever go to Chicago. So yeah, there's a little bit of they're known for not being the most reliable. So we'll forgive Cubs this time, and but next time we might have to ban them.
Hey, there's trade-offs, man. When I see people sit in traffic all day and you're just zooming past them on the train, it's pretty nice. There's
very true.
Red lights on a train.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And for a little context, Ches knows what he's talking about because he is from Chicago. In case you missed, listen to this plug, episode number 1 of the podcast where you learned where Ches is from. So, all right, Cubs, man, you've been around. Have you been? You've had your year anniversary, haven't you?
Yeah,
Or-
I've done the year before. I think it was maybe last June that I joined.
okay, wow. So you're going on about 15 months now. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. You've been around for a while. I know you were one of the first Clay Trader University people too.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, let's start back at the beginning though. I mean, I know where you work. I don't know if you want to disclose that or not. I'll leave that up to you. But I mean, what even got you interested in this whole stock market thing?
Well, I think it was back in high school, my junior year. I think it was the fall semester in my econ class. I think that was in the fall of 2007. So kind of when things were starting to get a little hairy with the financial markets. I don't think the markets were crashing yet, but there was still a lot of news and this stuff coming out about how things weren't looking too good. And in my econ class, we did a stock market game, which I listened to a couple of podcasts. It seemed like it's kind of common for people in high school, and you just pretty much get a chunk of money, and whoever at the end has the most money wins that contest. So that kind of got me hooked in it. And then after that class, the financial markets start to unravel even more. And just talking to my dad, who has a big chunk, kind of a big stake in the market with his personal finances, he pretty much has it all in stocks. That kind of got him worried, and we kind of started talking more. And he kind of made a pretty big, pretty bold move. He cashed in his 401k and took a lump sum, or sorry, not his 401k, his pension. Took a lump sum for that and put it all in the market in 2009 when things were starting to recover. So just listening to him kind of talk a lot about it, and it's kind of got me hooked on it. And my econ teacher, I still talk to this day. It's kind of funny, we still kind of share trade ideas or what we think is going on in the market. He's got more of the econ brain with him, and I kind of more with the charts. He kind of asks me what I think about a ticker, and I'll draw a chart up for him, or ask him what's going on with these Fed minutes, or housing data, or stuff like that, all the releases. And it's just nice, you still stay in touch with a guy from high school that was your teacher. And I really don't remember any of my high school teachers, but I do remember him. He's my favorite teacher, and I think him and my dad really got me started looking at stocks and paying attention to financial news. Also, I was a caddy for 8 summers at a pretty prestigious golf course in my town, and you work for all kinds of people there, and a lot of them are in the financial industry. And
let me guess. Some of the caddies, the richest ones, were probably penny stock traders, right?
They're all
that invested into penny stocks.
We're all degenerates. It probably wasn't a good thing for a kid to be working at a golf course where like 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds are working. But just the people I did work for were in the financial markets. They'd be checking their phones all the time, looking at the markets, and I started talking to them, and it kind of led me to an internship for a wealth management firm. And with that internship, I think it was my junior year of college, I was given the task of making a model stock portfolio. And being in wealth management, they're in the stay rich business, not the get rich business. So my whole strategy behind that was making a portfolio that was centered around dividends. So that kind of got me thinking about time value of money and just compounding dividends, and maybe I should start doing that. And with a little bit of caddy money I did have, I bought 3 stocks my junior year of college that I still own today. I think it was Buckeye Partners, BPL, Exelon, EXC, and Vodafone, VOD. And those are just kind of nice, safe dividend payers, and that really got me started in it, got my feet wet.
Nice. Now I want to go back just because I'm not going to mind my own business here. But how'd you finish in that econ class? You top of your class, or how'd you do in that competition?
To be honest, I cheated because I found out the quotes were 15 minutes behind. So I don't really take any pride
using that delayed data to your advantage there. There you go.
Well,
Nice.
Whatever website we were on, I guess since it was free at the time, that wasn't that great, and kind of learned the in and outs with that. But I don't know. I didn't really take much pride in it, but it just got me hooked in it, and just kind of paying attention to tickers and the movements and stuff, and it got me pretty interested in that.
Cool. Now, did that internship lead to a job with that wealth management firm, or did you decide to just take your love and finish school and then just start applying at other jobs in the financial industry? It sounds like, from a pretty young age, you were already interested in it. I'm assuming that you had always assumed you were just going to go into something to do with the finance markets. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I was a finance major in college. That wealth management job or internship didn't land me a full-time job. There was this, it was like only two portfolio managers and one client assistant that office had. It was a bigger firm. It was at UBS, but those two portfolio managers just had their own little thing, and there wasn't really much job opportunity, and I didn't really feel like pestering them. So I applied for a job out of school. Just got a simple operations job, and I only stayed there for a year and a half. I want to do something more hands-on with the market, and where I'm at now, I'm actually analyzing bond prices every single day, which it's not like equities where you have a set closing price. Some bonds don't trade much, some are pretty liquid. So, there's kind of more digging around, the closing price on a day-to-day basis. And we're researching 2% moves on a day-to-day basis. And recently I got put in charge of our corporate bond sector, which is pretty exciting for me. That's what I wanted because, it's like watching Apple, Verizon, those kind of, bonds that are triple B or above that I'm looking at.
All right. Well, why don't, for our listeners and for me, because I have a good general idea, but you're kind of in the profession. So what exactly is a bond? What's the difference between a corporate bond or a municipal bond? Just, you don't have to go into the theory of things, but just give us a quick rundown so listeners can have an idea of kind of what you're looking at on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. So for corporate bonds, you got Apple, Verizon, Skyworks, Abby, all your corporate companies. For municipal bonds, you're buying government debt. So you're buying, you can buy a Chicago bond, which I probably wouldn't advise, or a Detroit bond. You probably get a nice little yield on that. But that's from municipals. You're kind of buying, you're kind of like financing, Wisconsin's highway construction or, Northwestern school. So that's municipals. You can buy treasuries, obviously, that's government. You can buy asset-backed bonds, which are like, autos or credit cards. You're buying someone's credit card debt. So you're pretty much just buying the debt and you're getting an interest payment out of it.
Okay, very cool. So like Cubs just said, forget about your kids' college tuition. Take that money and go put it in Detroit bonds. I think that's what I heard. Is that what you heard?
It's a lot different of a market. It's not just like equities where, it's kind of black and white, but with bonds, there's so many moving parts where, for asset-backed securities, there's something called a paydown where it changes the price of a bond where the principal gets paid off on a month-to-month basis. So it's kind of more complex, and I don't know. I probably confuse people just by talking about it. My parents don't really understand it either, or my girlfriend, she just kind of looks at me and wants to change the subject right away.
Well, bless her heart for at least even listening to you in the first place. So, yeah. All right. So, you've made three trades or investments, I should say, because you said they were based on dividends. So yeah. You're kind of hands-on. So at what point, where did the transition come to, hey, I want to actually get a little bit more active in all this?
Yeah. So, my whole philosophy to start with just building a nice portfolio that I can rely on for the next 30 years that will have some nice income. After those three stocks, I bought like Walgreens. I bought, U.S. Steel ones like $15-16, and it kind of popped back up. BlackRock Health, which pays like a 9% dividend. I think Verizon. I bought a couple more that I had the philosophy of just holding on for a long time. But then as I started working full time out of college, I saw the pot stock bubble happened. So that kind of caught my attention. See how big of gains these people can have in just a couple days. So I put a little bit of money in that, and I made out. And
I want to dig into this because I think a lot of people can. So first, just out of curiosity, what kind of brokerage were you using for all these investment stocks? Verizon?
Using Fidelity, because that's my dad uses, and they got some nice mutual funds that are free commissions if you're on Fidelity. So I was using Fidelity, which it isn't bad. It's like I think $8 a trade, not good for options though.
Well, for investing, I was just curious there. But then you said, I noticed a pot stock boom, and then I got involved, and I did okay. And then I'm not going to let you skim over this. Let's. So what did you buy? And how? You did okay, but do you remember any ticker symbols or anything?
Yeah, I wasn't really using my financial brain or what I learned in college. I just it was more the gambler in me, seeing all these returns. Off the top of my head, I know it was Vapor, VPO or SPLI when I bought it. But I made good on that, and what I was doing is taking all my profits and spreading into more penny stocks, which wasn't a good thing. Just whatever was jumping around at the time, and for the first couple of months, I was just on cloud nine with my returns, and then was it like by April or May, all those profits were wiped away.
Yeah, so I want the listeners to really think about what Cubs just said there. He's been involved in finance or interested in it for years. He works in finance. It's his job to do that. He knows what garbage looks like, but he was still willing. And like he said, and kudos to you for being honest with it. It was the gambler in him. He could see these real huge returns, and he had some money to do it, and he did it. Now, were you using any kind of technical analysis or anything like that, or were you just, you pretty much that whole boom was a boom, and it did bust, and a lot of people went broke, but some people made out pretty well.
No,
obviously, it looks like you caught kind of the beginning of it too, which is pretty good.
Yeah, at that time I wasn't really using charts, maybe like line charts, not candlestick charts, that's for sure. But I guess my whole thinking was, this stuff's just getting legalized in a couple states. Look at these tickers right now. Imagine what it could be in when 10 more states legalize it. Not even paying attention to the market cap or looking at how overextended it was or anything like that. So I made money on Vapor and then spread it across to whatever other tickers I saw that were being talked about online and on Twitter. That was pretty ridiculous on Twitter what was going on. But yeah, I wasn't looking at any charts. I was just kind of riding the bubble and seeing my account go up. So I was fine enough with that. And then things started crashing, and that's kind of an eye-opening reality. And I think like these penny stock bubbles only come around, it seems like every decade, every 10 years, probably because people learn their lesson and the new people come in and don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. The marijuana pot stock boom a couple of years ago now. Before that, I think the last true big bubble and big was just the .com where everything was running.
Yeah.
But so did you? Did you lose all your gains? Did you break even? Did you end up going from green to red? Where did your portfolio kind of look like after the bubble popped?
No, I was probably up. I probably put maybe $3 or $4 grand into it and got it up to 25, and no, I lost all of that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So what was going on in your mind when were you kind of just quote unquote drunk on the Kool-Aid thinking, oh, these things will recover, but I'm sure people are listening saying, how do you let 25,000 go back down to 4,000? What was going on in your mind?
At a pretty young age, I'm only 24, or probably I was 23 at the time, and that's a big chunk of change. But I was thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna be able to move out soon and get my own place and all that. But I think that once again the gambler kicked into me and saw them going down and put more into it.
So now after you put more,
I was thinking they bouncing. I think this is short term, and it's gonna get legalized in more states. I'll be fine. And
so you averaged down. Is that what I kind of extrapolated from that?
Yeah, I did average down.
I hope the listeners are noticing averaging down.
Yeah,
Like
it's not a good thing, but I'm glad I did it. I'm not glad I did it, but I'm glad at least I learned at a young age where, it could have been a lot worse. $3 grand, it's a lot of money, but, it could have been a lot worse. I was older and, had more saved. And, for me, I learned the hard way with stuff, and it was definitely a learning experience. And, that kind of got me into looking at charts. And so, I don't know, maybe it happened for a reason, but, at least it didn't happen when I was older, I guess.
Yeah, everything that happens is just a part of getting you to where you're at right now. I'm a firm believer in that. But so after, you lose everything, what is your course of action? Do you decide, screw this whole microcap market, I'm just going to continue to do my kind of longer term portfolio investments? Or, was there a point where you wanted to become a more active trader, or kind of, what was the next step from there? How was your feelings after, going through that big upswing and that big downswing?
Well, after losing everything that I gained, I kind of in the back of my mind, all right, well, I still got a full-time job and things will be okay. But, I still wanted to, actually learn how to trade. Before I was just investing, and after doing the penny stocks, I was kind of becoming more active. So I wanted to, better strategies. What should I be looking at? And, as going through Twitter, found this website. So sign up for the chat room. And, that kind of just opened me to new doors and getting more of the technical side.
This chat, was it? Which site was it?
Clay Trader.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had found Joe Blow's, hot penny stock picks or something like that. But okay.
Well, funny thing is, I'm sure everyone knows. I won't plug anybody, but I somehow got free into a paid chat room. I had to pay somehow. So kind of saw that clown show what was going on, and you know,
You can use initials if you want.
well, what W?
Okay. That is that ringing a bell for you, Ches? W?
I don't know. There's a bunch of clowns out there.
W.
A lot of our
Oh,
space
yeah,
is
yeah,
filled with
yeah.
the
I bet
clown
I
show.
know. I bet I know. Yeah, yeah. The guy that lucked out and made a bunch of money, huh?
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
He was on Twitter. I don't want to plug anybody, but
Yeah.
no.
No, he's a mammal that's kind of furry.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
We use his alerts now, kind of for
Yeah, yeah.
when we know something's gonna happen or when we think something's gonna happen.
For
Yeah.
contrarian purposes.
But yeah, I was in there. I mean, like for a month or two, just kind of listening to what was going on, and
I mean, what made it a clown show? I mean, because I've never been in there, and I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, what makes you say that it was a clown show? What do you notice, or especially now that you have experience? Looking back, I mean, what kind of just makes you laugh about it?
well, I mean, people putting their life savings into these penny stocks, and I don't know, people just for what we have at our chat room, it's much more structured, first of all, and there people are just talking about anything when I don't know when people are trying to trade or look for decent alerts, and it wasn't very professional at all.
So it was mass chaos, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's typing on whatever they want. People posting pictures of women or pictures of whatever, and I
So
mean,
it was the stereotypical Hollywood type. Everybody's trying to be like some hotshot broker. Then
yeah, I mean, you're pretty much like at a sports book in Vegas or somewhere in the casino, and people are just going wild.
So were you posting pictures of yourself in a Speedo and stuff like that, or I mean,
I would stay quiet. I didn't really want to talk because I didn't pay for it. So
that is weird how you got in. But anyways, that's way off
yeah.
topic. Well, so you said you came across claytrader.com. You signed up for the chat room and you became a millionaire at that point, right? Is that where you tell us that you now bought your Lamborghini?
Yeah, I wish. I still got a full-time job. And
So how'd that go? I mean, you joined and then I mean,
Yeah, I
just
started.
just give us your journey from that point forward, because I mean, I don't want to come across like sign up for the website and you become a millionaire.
I was kind of skeptical at first about buying courses, but as time went on, like listening to some of the alerts, I realized, I do want to know what all these mean, and I didn't have much technical knowledge at the time, so I wanted to learn charts, and I was pretty good at researching fundamental stuff for bigger name stocks, but I never really paid attention to the chart because I always had the back of my mind to be long term. So I wanted to just kind of know how to read a chart and know better places to buy. So that's why I first bought robotic trading, and that's kind of got me hooked on wanting to learn as much as I could.
Now, so after you take the course, did you decide you were going to, I know you work a full-time job, was your entire intent to kind of swing trade at that point, put on some trades based on maybe a daily chart or weekly chart, or we're going to try to, we have people who try to sneak trades in during lunch, and I was like, you're really only giving yourself an hour of the day, and usually that's typically when things don't move a lot. So yeah, what were you trying to do after you kind of got a little bit of education?
At the time, I thought I could multitask at work, have a screen minimized in the background and try trading, but the more time that went on that I did that, I kind of just felt like I was at work trying to hide something, I don't want to have a chart up all day, and that kind of made it hard for me to be looking at like a 5 minute candlestick chart, and I probably went on with that for a month or two and didn't have much success just day trading, and actually got myself in the pattern day trader violation. I didn't even know that existed at the time, so that was a learning experience, but it didn't last long, me day trading at work, because I just always felt like I had to hide something, and that's no way to trade when you can't have a screen up.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, psychologically speaking already, even when you're doing this full time, you don't have to worry about your boss looking over your shoulder. I can't imagine. I mean, you add in the psychological component of, oh, no crap, now I got to worry about making money, but I also got to worry about my boss. And I mean, so it probably just psychologically just ripped you to shreds. Probably way too stressful.
We worked at an open office environment where, there's not really a cubicle or many walls. So, you can see the person next to you, and I don't know, it just felt awkward, and I wasn't really comfortable with it. And, it's no way to trade when you feel like you're hiding something. It's enough stress watching the candlesticks, and it's another burden just to hide it from someone. And so that didn't last long, day trading. But I went back to my roots and just kind of looking at investment stuff and trying to learn swings and kind of incorporating my fundamental research with the chart because if I can find a good company that I think is going to do well and I can piece it together on a chart, that's two things working for me.
So you tried day trading for a couple months, didn't work. I mean, the whole trying to day trade job, eh. So I mean, you went back to roots. You started.
I didn't lose. Maybe just lost a couple $100 like aggregately total, but it just was too much stress trying to do that while working full time.
So you did a good job of controlling risk during that whole period, at least. If you only walked away with a couple $100 loss, then I'd say that's a good lesson to learn
I had my winners, and then kind of just get wiped away equally. I'm a pretty risk averse person. You probably can't tell after what I talked about with penny stocks, but I really try to stop the bleeding as quickly as possible with stop losses. That was a big reason why it didn't blow up into a bigger problem when I couldn't watch it during the day that much.
Right. So you started doing some swing trading, and then so how did that go for you when you started to kind of bring back your research skills, and then still using the charts for swings?
It was pretty good. I like to read some magazines like Barron's and Value Line and Investors Business Daily. Kind of incorporated that with the charts. So people think highly of a stock. I like the story behind it. The history says it's been doing well. I like looking at the weekly chart. My whole philosophy was finding a company that was looked good on paper and with the biography behind it, and then trying to piece it together with like buying on the 50-day moving average on a weekly chart. So that was kind of like my strategy, and it was doing well up until this past week and a half. I think my portfolio was up like 18% for the year. So.
And where's it at after this past week? To give context, we're at the end of August here, so we've experienced quite the market downturn in the month of August this year.
To be honest, I haven't even checked.
But you're not trying to where your risk is.
It's more of a longer term account.
Right.
Now I've been kind of more focused on options, but there was a period of time between me doing those day trades and swing trading where I bought CTU and spent about 2 months just going through all the material first. So I took a little bit of a break. I think that was the best thing I could have done because, during like the pot stock thing going into when I was trying to day trade, it just became an obsessive habit where, every night just looking at the market or looking at charts and just kind of obsessing over it, which I don't think was very healthy. So it was nice to have that 2-month break and just kind of getting a fresh feel for things. Still going in the chat room and kind of paying attention to what's going on, but not really putting any money out there.
I've lost count now how many people have said they've taken a little break, and then when they've come back, I mean, it's just, what is it saying? Milk does a body good. Well, it sounds like for a trader, a rest does a body good. So, I mean, just.
It's probably the best thing I could have done. I think, in life, balance is a really important thing, and, having your personal time and us away from the market really clears your head. And I don't know, there's no way to live life just thinking about the market all day, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's yep. You got to have a fine balance in it. It only gets more balance required, especially if you decide to go to the route of starting a family and all that sort of stuff. But,
trust me, I know it's hard in the moment because I've been there, and when just looking at stuff all night and just thinking about it, and I don't know, it's just the best thing you can do is just take a break sometimes if you're on a losing streak or. You just think it's too much. The market will always be there, and just take your time with it.
Exactly. Well, you kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit. You mentioned you're more focused on options. So when did that transition what kind of caused that transition to take place? And kind of just tell us about that part of the journey.
Yeah. So I got in that pattern day trading thing I told you about, and that's when I had margin and. I learned through the chat room about the cash account. You don't have to worry about that. So that really piqued my interest. Still being able to do trades or still be in the market without having to worry about doing those 3-day trade limit things. But I wasn't much of a day trader at the time, but I still wanted to have the option of getting out of a trade the same day if things went bad. So options really poked my interest and took your course and. At first I kind of looking at more directional moves, But now, I'm on the other side. I like to actually short options and collect premium, and I think that's the best thing I've ever done. You know, you have 70% chance of making $30, or a 30% chance of it going higher. I like that 70% and playing the probabilities. I don't really do anything too crazy, but I really like having being almost the casino. Giving out those dream trades. You're selling way out of the money strikes, and just creating dreams for people that won't ever come, most likely won't come true.
Okay, let's go. Let me grab. So you tried directionally at first options. So I mean, did that go well? Did it not go so well? Did it kind of just? I mean, what made you decide to go from from directionally trading to now how are you using options?
It kind of put me back into the position I felt when I was trying to day trade at work. I think when you're trying to trade directionally, you really have to babysit those options because things can move pretty quickly. So I just felt like I was back to where I started, and it wasn't going to work out, and it just wasn't going to work. And with these shorting options, I only check it a couple times a day, and I find it a lot more comforting and less stressful.
So I wish our listeners could hear how wide I was smiling as you talked about kind of being the casino and being the house, because I was actually one of the first students as well to kind of really take to start looking into these advanced strategies after the advanced course came out. But yeah, it just like you said, it's especially for someone who doesn't want to have that stress. You don't have to babysit these. They're longer term trades still, but at the same time, like you said, you're selling dreams to people, and I love selling dreams all day. And it doesn't require that much. It's just a lot of math, and when you can couple that, just like Cubs was coupling fundamentals with the chart, finding logical locations to buy, like the 50-day simple moving average. If you can look at a chart, and even if it's not an earnings play or something, you still can find we can find support, resistance, and we could sell dreams way outside of those that have a super small chance of doing it. But
selling beachfront property in Arizona, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And people buy them. You think it's crazy, but people buy these dreams all the time. We even have a couple people in the community that we will see doing it, and we say, I always sell them. I'll sell it to you all day. I'll just keep selling it to you all day.
It's high probability trades, but I've learned, and after just doing more research, all it takes is one for you to wipe out all those gains. So it's not never guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed, but you have the probabilities on your side. And I'm to the point where I'm just trying to do as much as I can to research the ways to, if things do go bad, how to give myself a chance still, and how to play defense.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it's the what Cubs is doing now, and Chez, both of them. I mean, I'm surprised they're even letting me talk anymore. I figured they were gonna. This bonding
I could make this a 4-hour podcast, but I don't want to do that.
Exactly. I appreciate them both. But when Cubs was saying he cared directionally, he cared about, okay, the price needs to go in a certain direction in order for me to be profitable. Now what Cubs is doing is he doesn't really care what the price is doing. It could go up, down, or sideways to an extent, and he would still make money. So, this is what allows him to be able to, I call it swing trading with an edge. Because when you can sit in a position and say, the price can go sideways, I'm going to make money. The price can go up, I'm going to make money. The price can go down, I'm going to make money. That's a good spot to be in. Now, again, up or down, that's to an extent. It can't go, extremely up or extremely down. But by just structuring, advanced options and, putting together certain strategies, that's what Cub's doing is he can sit back, check at lunch or whenever, because, the price doesn't need to really go in any specific direction necessarily. And, he's still sitting pretty. So, I mean, that's what allows him to have these higher probabilities of profit. But also, like he said, and this stuff sounds great. It is great. But, yeah, I mean, nothing's guaranteed. If you're stupid, the market will gladly, whack you upside the head. So, I mean, you have to be disciplined, as the case with anything. And that's kind of a good little segue into, because I'll sit back I've sat back, I should say, and I've watched Cubs. Like I said, he's been around for about 15 months now. And I've watched his journey. I can tell you he's a totally different trader now. So let's talk about losses. Mentally, how did a loss used to affect you? How did that, just kind of how that, kind of just simmer in your mind versus, how does a loss does it affect you the same way? Or, kind of how do you look at that area of the market now?
Yeah, before, when I had a loss, I would, all right, I'm gonna double down or, try to average down and try to get that money back. But and when I would take a loss, kind of in the back of my mind, all right, I'm still working, okay, it's another paycheck or whatever. But now, I wouldn't be happy about it then. But now I just try not to let it build up like that. I don't average down anymore like that. I learned my lesson, and it's just more managing the trade with these advanced options. Well, first about the advanced options, I wouldn't recommend them to anyone who's just starting out in the market. I see people come in the chat room and say, "When should I take the options course?" Or I take a robotic trade. I'm ready for the options course, or I'm ready to trade options. I think you have to learn equities first, learn the technicals first, and really get a good feel for that because everything stays the same in options, but they move a lot quicker than equities, and you can get burned pretty quickly. And I just think you really need to take your time. I see people just join the chat room and not really know much about options, and they're ready to do it. But yeah, they're pretty intriguing, but you're doing the best thing for you by just waiting. And like I said, the market will always be there. Just take your time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Just the way I trade day to day, it's brick by brick, another brick in the house that I'm trying to build for my portfolio. So I guess now losses, I'm using a stop. If I was trading direction, I'd be using a stop loss. But with these shorting options, I might not be doing it right. But as of right now, I'm not using a stop loss, and I don't want to promote that at all. But I'm checking a couple of times a day, making sure nothing's going too crazy. But right now I'm really just trying to learn how to manage a trade, rolling an option out or just looking at deltas. If a delta gets too high past like my criteria, I'll roll it out, not letting things get too far into the money if I'm short an option, and just trying to manage a trade more because there's a lot you can do with these advanced options. So it's just more playing defense and learning more strategies about what I should do to manage this trade. Because the options that I'm doing, I'm looking at stocks that are in a nice upward trend in a weekly chart and looking for little pullbacks and selling like an option that's underneath the 50 or 200-day moving average on the weekly chart that have been proven to like hold support. So I'm not doing anything too crazy, but if I get a little nervous about that strike price, I'll buy it back and sell it again further out and at a lower strike. If I'm short a put, I'll sell it a little bit lower because I'm confident that this is a good company. It's just a pullback and it's a panic play that I'm taking advantage of. So it's not just any ticker that I'm looking at the short options, or I like the short puts. So I like to find a stock that's in a nice upward trend and then look to short puts around it.
Yeah, I think the saying is puts are schmutz. I think that's what what I've heard from some people. But there's two huge awesome tidbits of information you just hit on. Like you said, you kind of see in the chat room what people, they see options that are kind of exponential in nature. You could buy one for $15 and it could go to, $1,500. But the thing people don't realize, and we really do stress, is you have to be able to read the chart first. You can't just come in willy-nilly and just buy Apple calls or Apple puts. You have to know so much more about kind of the chart. Like I said, you have that coupled with the fundamental aspect, but you can't just be, you can't just take, learn about options and then just start trading them. You really can't. You got to know more about the chart and kind of how, how these prices are moving and where's the logical place to buy and sell.
And then to piggyback, I mean, this sounds obvious, but I mean, the first question you have to ask yourself within options is, what do I think the price is going to do? And if you don't have a tool to answer, what do I think the price is going to do? If you're just guessing, then options will gladly eat your lunch very quickly. So keep that in mind. That's the very first question. Now, we're not even saying you have to use charts. Maybe you can, I don't know, talk to your dog or cat, and your cat will tell you, and that's a viable strategy for you. And Cubs, that's an excellent point. I'm so glad you said that. But yeah, just learning about options doesn't mean you make money with options, because you have to be able to answer the question, what do I think the price is going to do? And for us around here, we use charts for that. I'm not saying that's the only way to answer that question, but that's what Cubs, that's what Ches, that's why myself, that's what we use. So sorry to cut you off, Ches, but I had to. Cubs brought up such a good point that I couldn't hold back, man. I couldn't hold back.
Oh yeah, no problem at all. There's been a lot of good gems in this one, and then also the second part I was going at is while Cubs says he's not using a stop loss, you guys have to keep in mind Cubs this is not the same as buying stock. And if you buy a stock at 100, you might say, oh crap, if it goes down to 75. He might have two sides of this trade. He could define his risk so there's only a max loss. There's so many different strategies you can utilize, and options are kind of, I don't even know, if this is a good way to put it, it's kind of like a buffet. There's so many different ways you can construct, and you guys all hear these iron butterflies and iron condors and, strangles, all these crazy names. It sounds really difficult, but what that really means is they're just variations of certain spreads and, certain what you're going to short and what you're going to go long. And all of it's, like I said, there's tons of ways to make your money in the market. It's just a matter of where you're going to construct it. But I don't want you guys to think that when Cub says he's not, he's trading without a stop loss, does that open him up to some risk? For sure. But at the same time, he's using charts. What is a logical place? It's not often, I know Cubs is not trading any companies that are typically going to lose 80% in their day. Something like, we've had a couple of those names, but they're not well-known companies. And like you said, he's looking at weekly charts, long-term uptrends. He knows what company he's looking for, and those are the names that you wouldn't expect. Like you said, there is a small chance that something crazy could happen. But I just want you guys to really realize when he says he's trading without a stop for these strategies, it's not that they don't require it. It's just they're managed much differently than a straight up equity trade. But those are the only 2 points I really want to hit on. Those are gems that you just said right there.
Yeah, I definitely think slow and steady wins the race. Like, people just need to take their time, and you'll get to a point where you're comfortable with the options, and you'll know when you're ready. But yeah, I'm watching still during the day, so if things do get bad, I know how to cut a loss and do know when it's time to get out. But at the same time, I prepare for that 5% chance where it's going to be an in the money option, where even though I have a 95% chance of being good, I'm thinking about the whole time that 5%. And it's kind of nice, not really nice, but it has its advantages. Every time I make a trade, I have to get it okayed by our compliance department. So it's almost like a little stop sign that says, do you really want to do this? And I at this point, I'd be so embarrassed to say, can I have compliance to trade a pot penny stock?
Yeah, that would be. I would, if you ever do that, record the compliance officer's face when he looks over that trade. I'm curious, any penny stock for that matter.
It's just like an online thing, but I still wouldn't. Still wouldn't ask that.
That's pretty funny though. Pretty
but
funny.
it's like a nice little stop sign that says, do you really want to do this? And I don't know. It takes like a minute to get approved. It's pretty quick. Nothing like a whole day or anything like that. But it's just like another check that makes you stop to really think about what you're doing.
Right. No, that's pretty cool. It's kind of like a layer of protection against yourself, just to make sure nothing crazy is going on. So we got to start to wrap things up. But I really like this question. So what are some things that you say or that you would think you're doing very well? And then what are some things that you still want to kind of personally work on? So strengths and weaknesses a little bit.
Well, I think strength would be my overall technical knowledge, and knowing how to find the trends and find what I want that makes the trade right for me. I think I have a decent set of rules and criteria that I look for to make a trade. And I think I'm pretty good at doing fundamental research and just keeping up with the market on a day-to-day basis and knowing what's going on in a broader sense. What I need to work on, I'd probably say just learning options more, because I feel like there's just a ton I can do with it, and learning more of like delta strategies or just more technical aspects of it, and just playing defense and stuff like that. I think I really found my niche and what I want to do as far as the market goes, like with my situation where I'm working full time. Everyone has different goals in the market. For me, it's just kind of finding high probabilities of income. Everyone's different, but that's what I like. But I think it's just kind of preparing for trades that go bad, just kind of knowing everything that I can do.
Yeah, and people need to remember too, at the same time, we just got into options. We just got here, so it's by no means is it really a weakness for him. It's just he's just kind of building up his knowledge and just wants to get better at it. Like we should all strive to in the market. But
I do want to throw him just a warning. Remember, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, Cubs. So don't overcomplicate things, because you're on board. Let me go research and figure out another strategy, and then all of a sudden you ruin your current strategy that is working because you stumbled across JoeBlowsBlog.com, and he's telling you to do a naked lizard, iron, butterfly, Sasquatch.
I like what I'm doing right now, but there's things you gotta look out for. Like if you're shorting options, you gotta look out for ex-dividend dates. I just learned that. So
I just a friendly warning. I don't want to see you go off down the beaten path of who knows what, and then all of a sudden because you got a good thing going. I guess that's what I'm getting at. And just quickly. Now, I think last week you mentioned, just so viewers can kind of understand, because people are going to think, well, how do you do that when you have a job. But how many positions did you have open, or do you have open right now?
I think it's like in the mid 20s. Some expired. It's probably 20 now. 'Cause some expired over the weekend. It's like the greatest sight to see on Monday morning where options get removed from your account because they're out of the money and they expired that you collected the premium on. But I think like 20, 21 right now. I opened a couple today, so.
Okay, so I mean, what Ches has been, I don't know, Ches. Actually, you take up this point because I think you know where I'm going because you can relate. How many positions do you have open, Ches? Just so people can realize, wow, how can this person have so many positions open right now and have a full-time job? So I'll let our two little option guys talk about it.
Yeah, so I have 11 open right now, but I completely agree with Cubs. It's just such a nice site. I think it's Saturday is when they actually technically clear out of your account, but you open it up and I'm like, oh, I got all this capital to redeploy on Monday. And it feels good to know that, that beachfront property in Arizona you sold has finally come to fruition and you got it all. But yeah, I only have 12 right now, but I strive to do exactly like Cubs said. I want to have 20 plus positions open. I don't want to, and it's not, and I'm sure they're not all correlated. That's the thing. I had positions on that were based in Europe, positions that are based in bonds, positions that are based in Asia. When you have that kind of spread out, diversification, we all hear about that all the time. But he's still utilizing options in these names. But all his eggs are not in one basket, and that's so key. Especially when he's just like you said, putting one brick a day. Just trying to put a brick a day and build that house up. He's not here to get that Lamborghini or that helicopter in one trade by betting the house on it. So that's a really key thing that he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're short a bunch of puts and you have a week like last week, you're not gonna be sitting pretty, and it's gonna be pretty stressful. So, I mean, if you're into shorting stuff, it's nice just to have calls and puts, so you don't get burned. You kind of make up for it if it goes one big way pretty big.
Now, one of the popular questions we do have on here, and it's probably only popular because I ask it almost every time, is I do have a time machine.
The only popular part of our podcast is when you're talking, Ches, just so you know. That is
I know the listeners have spoken, but I do have a time machine in my beachfront property in Arizona, and if I let you borrow it, what would be one piece of advice you would go back, and maybe tell yourself right when you started, maybe pre-penny stocks, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
Just take your time with everything. I rushed in a couple things too quickly, but the market's always going to be there, and just get comfortable, start small, and work your way up, and just make a nice set of rules for yourself and stick to those rules, and just be true to yourself.
Get comfortable, start small, and work your way up. That's you cannot pay for any better information right there. That summarizes the true journey right there. So I hope maybe rewind that and re-listen to that. That sums up the
and definitely
proper
take your
path of
time before you
success.
start options.
Yep. And I mean, is that the most exciting path? No, of course it's not exciting. But you know what's really exciting? Eating chicken wings. Eating chicken wings is super exciting. But if I do that all the time, that's not going to be very good for you. So very well said. Well, let's move into some fun questions, and this is really all that matters. So. Are you ready, Cubs?
Yeah.
Are you nervous at all?
I hope not.
If I were you, I would be very nervous right now.
The future of your account is about to, be put on these questions. That
my cursor is currently over the either terminate or allow button right now, based off these answers. So
I think I'll survive the challenge.
All right. What is your favorite movie?
Oh man, probably what's pretty relative to this would probably be Boiler Room. That's a great movie. You guys watched that before?
Oh yeah, of course. You can't be a trader and not have seen Boiler Room. I'm trying to think of a quote from it.
It's a prereq to be a trader.
Yeah, exactly. But
probably Boiler Room, Casino, Goodfellas. I like those kind of movies. And then, oddly enough, I like Home Alone a lot.
That's a classic.
Oh man,
where's the cheese pizza? Well, if you want some, somebody's gonna have to fill in the blank.
Suck brick, kid.
Yeah. I think that's from the second one, though. Actually,
yeah.
When they're up in the top, and there's
the first two are the best ones. When they start changing the characters around, kind of.
The third one's that doesn't even count. Third one doesn't even count. I think Ches has another question for you before we go and talk about Home Alone for the next 3 hours.
I do. So, what would you say is your favorite meal?
Oh man. Well, my mom's 100% Italian, so I love everything she makes. But you can't go wrong with the pizza choices around here, or some carne asada tacos, or a burrito. I think pizza, Mexican and Italian are one of my favorite.
Chipotle or Qdoba?
Oh, definitely Chipotle.
All right, whatever. We're not friends anymore.
They do got the queso sauce at Qdoba. So.
That's true. That's true. What kind of music you like? Song, band, and don't say the Miley Cyrus because we already know that one.
I got pretty open mind about music. I'm always up for something new. I think my favorite band would be Widespread Panic, though. I've seen probably 20 of their shows, and it's just like a jam band, but I like them. Pretty good.
What's their name?
Widespread Panic.
Should I have heard of these people before, Ches? Or is this a mainstream band?
They're not really.
No, but I'm sure a lot of penny stock traders have because they usually have widespread panic when their shares dump 80% a day.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But what's a place you'd like to visit someday? Ideally, one that you haven't been to yet.
I love traveling. I went to Spain in November, this almost a year ago, and that was awesome. I went to the Canary Islands, which was gorgeous and probably like the most exotic place I've ever been to. But
I gotta. And for anybody that wants to see the Canary Islands and Cubs, check my Instagram. I don't even know what the link is, but he sent me a picture, and I had to throw that up on Instagram because he's wearing the Clay Trader T-shirt in the Canary Islands. So shout out to you, Cubs. Thanks for doing that, man. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was awesome there. But probably the place I want to go to is probably Cinque Terre in Italy, where it's like 5 towns where you can hike to, and I don't know, it just looks beautiful. And I'd like to go back. I'm 8 or 75% Italian, so I want to go back there. And I just like the whole culture in Europe. You go to a place, you can get a glass of wine for €1 and get a little plate of food with it. And that's how it was in Spain. You get a little tapa. So I just like their culture there. And, they don't eat till it's pretty late out. And, it's more laid back. Me in Chicago, I'm always speed walking to work. And when I was in Spain, people are just like meandering around. I'm like, oh, man, get out of my way. But, it's just nice. They take their time and, just enjoy life. And, it's just a nice culture to be around in Europe.
Very nice, very nice. And then what do you like to do for fun or hobbies?
Well, I caddied for 8 years, so I'm pretty big into golf. I like to enjoy the outdoors, go fishing, travel, hang out with friends, and golfing a lot when I can in the summertime.
Nice, nice. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I mean, Ches, do you have anything else? I mean, I know you guys are option buddies.
Well, one that's we usually get a lot of enjoyment out of is, what 3 words do you think should be associated with successful trading?
Give me a second. Well, I think definitely balanced. You should keep a balanced, market and personal life. Have a good divider between those. I think too much of anything is not a good thing. So definitely keep it balanced. Take time away from the markets and just don't obsess over it. I would say selective. Be selective of what you put your money into. Have a set of rules and stick to it. So, just don't trade anything that you see out there. So balanced and selective. And then I would probably say alert. You want to know what's going on in the market and just know what's happening. If you're trading options and the Fed has minutes in 5 minutes, you should know about that. It's going to change things up.
Very well said. Very well said. Well, hey man, I just a little more context. It's like 8:33 right now p.m. Eastern time, so 7:33 p.m. for Cubs. So I mean, I appreciate you coming in after work, after looking at bond prices all day. So
hey, no worries.
Man, thanks for hanging out.
No worries. I'm glad we finally did this. Sorry to keep pushing it back, but it was fun. I'm glad hope people can learn something from it or find it helpful.
No, they will for sure. They will for sure. So thank you everybody for listening. A few things before we let you go. If you're listening to this at claytrader.com, click that share button, leave us a comment below. Ches and I read all those, and I'm sure Cubs will read those and be willing to answer any questions you have for him. If you're listening to this on iTunes, leave us a rating, leave us some feedback. We do read all that stuff, and we do, as long as we know that people are getting enjoyment out of these, we're going to keep on doing them. So thank you again to our guest Cubs, and we will see you back for next week's episode.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.